Hello friends, this is Worm and it's Monday, which means it's time for another episode of Exotic Recrafting. This is a series where we talk about weak, underused, or straight up bad exotics in Destiny 2 and talk about how we can make them better. And I have a weapon on the menu for today that I know a lot of people are going to disagree with, and I'm okay with that. But before we talk about it, I want to remind y'all I will be live Tuesday and Thursday nights here on YouTube, so come check it out. We play Destiny, we talk about Destiny, have a lot of fun. With that plug out of the way though, let's talk about Trinity Ghoul, which is the exotic we're going to talk about today. And Trinity Ghoul, let me say this, it's not a bad weapon by any means. This falls in the underused category, and I think there's a very specific reason as to why it is not used as much as I feel like it could be or should be. And we'll get to that here in just a second, but first, let's talk about what the weapon actually does. It comes with the Intrinsic perk Splits Electron. Fires an arrow that splits when released. Aiming down sights and fully drawing the bow both decrease the spread. So basically, the way this bow works is when you shoot it, it shoots 3 arrows. So it breaks its damage down into 3 different impact numbers. No, it doesn't deal like bonus damage because it's 3 arrows. It's unfortunately the damage is split between those 3 arrows. But when you are aiming down sights and when you are fully drawing the bow, it's going to give you the tightest possible spread. Still 3 numbers, but it is, it's easier to hit those 3 numbers on the same target. And then of course, if you just tap and hip fire, it will shoot those out in a spread, which when we talk about the perk of Lightning Rod, which is its unique perk, precision kills grant the next shot chain lightning capabilities. This kind of has some nice synergy because once you have Lightning Rod active, you can spread out your damage to be more of an add clear style attack. And this bow is definitely an add clear style bow. It also does come with an exotic catalyst. The exotic catalyst basically just states that Lightning Rod now triggers from any arc damage final blow, meaning it doesn't have to be the bow. It can be a grenade, it can be a melee, it can be a heavy weapon. Any arc final blow will actually activate Lightning Rod, which is pretty cool. But why do we not see this weapon being used a whole lot? It all boils down to the fact that it doesn't really synergize with arc. So I've got some changes here, starting off, of course, with some catalyst perk substitutions or additions or changes. Then we'll talk about some intrinsic buffs and some unique buffs, and of course potentially a full rework idea that I have. And you'll notice I did leave out stat bumps. I don't think Trinity Ghoul needs any stat bumps. Usually we try to talk about some ways that we can bump stats to make them feel better. This weapon does not need any stat bumps. So let's talk about the catalyst perk additions that I think this weapon should have, and they synergize around arc pretty simply. Either give it Volt Shot or Rolling Storm. And I know this kind of conflicts with the exotic perk, the thing that makes it exotic, the chaining lightning capabilities. Obviously, one of the things that's lacking from Trinity Ghoul is the synergy with arc. Like, yes, it can create ionic traces if you have, certain aspects and fragments and stuff like that. But really, outside of that, it doesn't do much else. And I think if you just added Rolling Storm or Volt Shot or both to the weapon, you would see an uptick in usage by a lot. So that way players, they say, oh, okay, like now it has all kinds of arc stuff. It now synergizes better with arc, blah, blah, blah. And really, I would just add one of those two or both. I don't know, like, if you added both on the weapon, it might be a bit much, maybe a bit overpowered. But yeah, that would be the first thing I do. But now I want to talk about some intrinsic buffs. And the intrinsic perk here, of course, is the one that states that the arrow splits when fired. The only thing I would change about this is just change the functionality so that when you're aiming down sights and you have the bow, fully drawn, just make it deal 1 damage number. Don't split the arrow unless you're actively hip firing or missing a perfectly drawn shot. And the reason why is because every now and then it will happen that you will try to, say in the Crucible, get a crit on somebody and you'll miss one of those arrows. Even though you're aiming down sights, even though the bow is fully drawn, that can be a really frustrating situation to deal with. And I think that it should just have that changed so that anytime you have a fully drawn shot and you're aiming down sights, it just does 1 damage number, just to simplify the bow a little bit. But that's the only change I would really make to the intrinsic perk. Now, in terms of the unique perk, which is of course Lightning Rod, like we talked about with the catalyst, just giving it some form of arc synergy, I think would take this weapon a long way. Obviously, we have Rolling Storm, we have Volt Shot. These are perks that you could add to the catalyst, but maybe Bungie could build in some type of unique functionality. Currently Lightning Rod states precision kills grant the next shot chain lightning capabilities. maybe they could tie that into jolting. You know, any enemies that are hit by that chain lightning now are jolted, and they jolt other targets or something like that. Obviously, Volt Shot isn't nearly as good as this. You know, I know a lot of people say, oh, non-denouement is basically a legendary version of Trinity Ghoul, and it is exactly that. It is a legendary version of Trinity Ghoul, because Volt Shot, you have to hit the arrow or the shot to actually proc the jolting effect. Maybe with Lightning Rod, we could get a little bit more, you know, leniency in that. Whenever we hit a target with the Lightning Rod chain lightning, it would then jolt the target. That's really the only thing I would change about the unique perk. It's not really a bad perk by any means. Like, the chain lightning is really nice, and really the issue I have with jolting targets, you know, changing just Lightning Rod just to jolt targets, like we said, number one, target has to be hit directly to jolt it, but number two, jolt is less damage than Trinity Ghoul actually does. Like, Trinity Ghoul's lightning chain effect, it does a lot of damage. It absolutely zaps groups of adds, and a jolting effect wouldn't do that nearly as good. And that's why I'm hesitant on just changing everything so that it exclusively works in jolt. That's why I suggest, you know, whenever you shoot the initial shot, like, it still does the chain lightning, but if there's a higher health target that doesn't die in the group of enemies that you're shooting at, that target is now jolted. And that's kind of the issue when I was thinking about how we could change. That was kind of the issue that kept running through my mind, is how do you change it so that you keep the same power, but now you have, you know, that arc synergy, so to speak. But yeah, that's the unique perk change I have. Now the last perk here is, of course, a full rework idea. And the thing I would do for this is, when you are in the menu, there now becomes two options you can choose from in the unique perk slot. You can choose between Lightning Rod option 1 or Lightning Rod option 2. I haven't thought of cool names for them yet, but option 1 would of course keep the same functionality. You know, precision kills grant chain lightning capabilities, blah blah blah. But option 2 would now allow us to cause a bolt charge anytime Lightning Rod is active. So basically, you know, if you want to jolt targets and you want to have that chain lightning effect, you can keep that chain lightning effect on, but whenever you want to go maybe into like boss damage or something like that, you could then switch to a bolt charge shot, so that anytime the arrow strikes, anywhere it hits, there will be a bolt charge at that location. So, you know, instead of just chaining lightning, now you're up against the boss, you can kill an ad, you can have the, you know, the second option on, and then as you fire the bow, it just causes a bolt charge for free. You don't have to do anything about it. You don't have to build up stacks or anything like that. It's just a free bolt charge. And of course, if you get a kill with that bolt charge, it would just reactivate Lightning Rod, and you could just kind of chain it over and over again. I don't think this would be too busted, because it's not like you get just infinite numbers of, you know, these bolt charge attacks. You know, obviously you could do some arc build crafting. You know, if you have a situation where you're being swarmed by ads, but the boss that you're shooting at is far away, you could put down like an Ionic Sentry or something like that to just passively give you those that lightning rod shot, so that you could constantly just shoot a boss, chain lightning or chain bolt charge over and over. But I think that would be a really great functionality they could have, because then it could build into the whole each arc keyword. You know, we have one arc keyword with jolting, and that's where you get the chain lightning, and then the other arc keyword of bolt charge, you know, and you kind of have to pick one or the other. And this kind of goes against the catalyst I suggested earlier, which would be rolling storm and volt shot at the same time. But again, I think that it would just be nice to have the option to, you know, switch between those. And additionally, you could actually, maybe Bungie could add an additional functionality where you could just hot swap between them by holding, you know, your long pressing your reload button. You could switch between bolt charge shot or chain lightning shot. But yeah, that's my ideas for Trinity Ghoul. Again, it's not a bad weapon. I just think that the lack of any arc synergy makes it a difficult choice when you have such great weapons that come with perks like Volt Shot that arguably do it better, because it's legendary. So now you can free up your exotic slot for something really cool. But it also synergizes with your subclass, like these legendary weapons that have Volt Shot and stuff like that. So let me know your thoughts in the comments about, you know, my thoughts here on Trinity Ghoul. Tell me your thoughts for some cool ideas as to how you would change Trinity Ghoul to make it more valuable. Not a bad weapon, it's just, it's not as valuable as I think it could be. But yeah, with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Do me a favor, drop a like, helps the channel a lot. Subscribe for more daily Destiny content, conversations, debates, discussions, all that good stuff. And do me one more thing, watch the videos you see here on the end screen, because for whatever reason, YouTube thinks you'll like them. Guys, I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.